Welcome to Playing with Fire, the podcast for people who are ready to custom build their love.
We're talking about non-monogamy, however you design it, as an individuation opportunity.
Want to leave the default and make your life spectacularly you? You're in the right place. Hinge Skills Part 2, baby.
All right.
We started a conversation on Hinge Skills, and I think that this conversation is one that many of us need to have over time because we're always developing our Hinge skills. But
It's a constant development.
this is part 2 of a series on Hinge skills. I think we'll probably do as planned to do 3 episodes, do one with a Q&A follow-up as well, because I've had a bunch of questions about this. So if you have questions, feel free to, you can respond directly on Spotify, or you can email admin@jolihamilton.com.
You want to do a quick review of what a hinge is?
Yeah, so a hinge is the pivot person between two other people. They are in relationship to each of these two other people to a higher degree than the two people are in relation to each other. So two people at the ends of a V are metamours to each other, whether they know each other well, have, somewhat of a relationship, or whether they have very little relationship. And there can be multiple other people in the relational configuration. The key is that anyone who's sitting at that hinge point is actively relating to multiple people at the same time. And that takes some skills,
gets
baby.
complicated and requires skill to do well.
It does. And so we talked about some of the skills, including understanding your responsibility and taking responsibility for all of your decisions, and for managing your boundaries, identifying your boundaries, and your distress tolerance. Navigating distress tolerance is not easy for all of us. And we talked briefly about applying the lens of multiplicity, which is really important. That's a really complex subject that we can get into further, but let's pick up here talking about the thing I think almost everybody talks about first.
Right. Yeah. That's what I think of when I think of this topic.
Communication.
So communication, like, non-monogamy must be about communication. And then what I remember from when I first started hearing that, when I knew nothing, was, oh, sure. So I'll just talk. And that'll do it. I'll just say things, and then there will be communication.
Yeah, more words does not actually equal communication.
No, it doesn't.
And in particular, when we're talking about multiple relationships where there are often differing degrees of understanding about exactly what's going on, often there are unspoken or unexamined power dynamics happening. Communication needs to be taken seriously and understood as being something that we're also going to have different levels of skill, but also compatibility with. Like some of us,
the communication styles and
some of us get our point across between any two people really easily, and some of us struggle with other connections, even though we feel really strongly about the connection. We aren't able to be heard or understood as easily.
The ability to read each other's minds through the voices we make with our mouths, our mouth holes, and the way we move our faces is really astounding. And that it ever works is just a miracle. And so it takes effort. There are skills to it, and all of this, everything to do with hinge skills, are skills that can be developed. They're not like, oh, I can't do that. You could learn.
Right. So
because I did.
I think that the most obvious one, and what most people do get when I am working with somebody who says, I know we need to work on our communication. The thing that we're usually talking about is, okay, how do I work on being proactive in my communication? How do I begin to actively work to be understood and to help my partners feel understood in our relating? And that takes effort to develop the skills of active listening, of nonviolent communication, if you choose to go that route. You can also just allow more time. So more words won't necessarily make for communication, But not having enough time to actually share your thoughts and feelings and ideas and schedules will hinder your ability to feel like you understand each other, and that will
It
get in the
will.
way.
And I know that from personal experience, because the times when I feel for whatever reason like, okay, I need to get my point across quickly, I don't succeed at those times. I need the time to make sure that communication is occurring between us, or me and anybody really.
Well,
It's not
being
just you.
concise is hard.
Yeah, I'm
What's
not.
that great line about, like, "I'd write a shorter letter." Somebody said this is a
Yeah,
wonderful,
yeah. Well,
"I'd write a shorter letter, but I don't have the
but I don't
time."
have the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I can't think of who.
that was great.
It's an old saying. Um, but the ability to be both clear and concise is not easy. So I might focus instead on just making more time, especially if we're going through relational growth and change. If you have a new partner that you're adding to your life, it may take more time, more effort to develop a new communication pattern with
Mhm.
that person, but also to figure out I how I hold my center. We talked about taking responsibility and understanding where my boundaries are and understanding my me. Who am I bringing to this communication? It takes effort to do that, to stay present to, like, oh, this is me. I'm responsible for my words. So I'm going to show up to this conversation responsible for my words,
Yep.
and not just get into a reactive pattern of they said that, so I say this, and
Oh,
just
yeah,
reacting.
right. As I said in the last episode about this, all of these skills interact with each other. And one of the things that I hear when I hear you say that is the lens of multiplicity. So I, if I can hold the complexity of my point of view and yours, like trying to understand yours, not just having mine and trying to get you to understand it, but
Yes.
to be able to receive yours while also holding mine. I find that confusing sometimes. Like, okay, yep, I'm trying to imagine what it's like to be where you are, and I keep forgetting where I am.
And
And so I need to put effort into keeping both of those things in mind.
And this is where the imago dialogue can be such an
Mhm.
effective tool if
Yeah.
you're struggling to feel heard and feel understood by a partner. If you can engage in an imago dialogue, this is a mirroring technique. You can go back and listen to episode 129 for a rundown of the whole process. But this can make space for you to set down your point of view while you're listening, and in a very structured way. I'm going to set that aside and just be present and listen and mirror your position,
Mhm.
and then come back and
Yeah.
pick
And then
mine
come back
up,
and pick mine
right?
up.
And
Right.
and we do this in a structured way because a lot of us also have habits of self-abandoning in conversation.
Right.
And now I'm only mirroring, not in a healthy way, but in a you will only ever know the reflection of
Mhm.
yourself
Yeah.
through me.
And yeah, that's not communication.
Did it make you sick to your stomach?
Made me a little queasy there.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of experience
I have
with
a
that
lot of experience
particular
with it.
kind of
Yeah.
relating. And
And it's a question of whether it actually warrants the word relating. Because if what I'm dealing with is a mirror and not the authentic point of view of someone else, um, yeah, it doesn't feel like relating from
well,
there.
it doesn't later when you do the after
Oh,
action review, but let's just dig into this a little
okay,
bit,
let's do
because
it. Yeah.
a relationship, when I'm in relationship with someone who is m- they are mirroring rather than offering their authentic self, as I'm communicating with them, as I'm receiving their words, I think I am understanding who they are.
Yeah, I can feel heard and understood.
And right, and I think they're taking me
Um,
in,
yeah,
but often months or years later, we look back and we review and realize that we we weren't hearing their authenticity.
right.
We were instead having we were hearing our own words mirrored
Mhm.
back to us. They were active listening to a fault, where
Yep.
that's like
Yeah.
all they were doing. And for some people, that's a way of finding safety. They seek safety through, I will just mirror what is around me. And then I won't be rejected because
Yep.
people don't won't do that.
It's a form of fitting in. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I will make sure that I fit in this relationship.
Right. And fitting in often requires us to cut off all the pieces of us that don't fit in this box. And that is, so it's a move away from individuation, away from differentiation and individuation. And it is an inauthentic connection that often feels really good at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so you
Mhm.
said, yeah, it doesn't feel like relating. Um, Actually, at the beginning, I think it feels
It
yummy, and
feels
we
yummy.
trick
Yeah, it
ourselves
feels,
into imagining that that is
yep.
good communication and that it is us getting to know the other person. And this is particularly tricky because a lot of people are really good at cloaking themselves
Yeah,
in
I
this
mean,
mirror technique.
it's a coping technique. It's a search for safety by the
Yeah.
people doing this. I understand where it comes from. It's not like actively
No, I don't think it's
trying to
active
be
manipulation.
anti-relational. It's just how they're trying to feel safe in the relationship.
Yeah.
And so, and it, I mean, it has worked very well on me, and I felt like heard and understood, and it felt good. And then as time went on, and the search for a deeper relationship, that's where things can be like, wait a minute, I can't seem to get in. But so
It's
communication,
self-protective.
it's self-protective.
Yeah.
And what I hear when I describe myself in this situation is, so the reason it felt so good is I wasn't looking at them, I was looking at me.
Yeah.
I was just feeling how I felt in that relationship, and I didn't dig. And what did you say? Proactive. Proactively reaching out to say, well, what's going on for you, not just waiting for them to to offer, but to ask and say, how is this for you?
To ask and pause,
And then pause and wait.
and which is hard for me. It's I think there's another technique. Somebody in Year of Opening talked about using the technique um of making sure that they asked their partner to offer, where do you want to go to dinner, in order to encourage a partner who struggles to share their authentic
Yeah.
answers, to really invite them to, like, no, you go ahead, you tell me 3 places
Mhm.
that you want to go. You make the space and encourage them to share who they really are. Because a lot of people haven't received their authenticity hasn't been received well.
Right. It hasn't been
And so we
nurtured and cared for when it
Right.
was offered.
So if you want to, you can engage with someone who has some of these habits and tendencies of communication from a place of genuine, like, let's grow together.
Right.
Let's grow. Let's do this. Um, and no matter what we do, I think we should, moving on through Hinge skills. So communication obviously is one very, very complex topic we could go on and on about, but I think that all communication will result in the need for the next Hinge skill. No, not all communication, but
There
every
will come a
relationship will
point
have
in
times.
yeah, which is repair.
Yeah. And I mean specifically active relational repair
Mhm.
processes. I find a lot of people seem to think that repair happens through time, just time passing. Um, it does not. It,
That's
it
not repair.
that's not repair, that's waiting.
That's something else. Yeah.
And
But those the
or they think that it just has to happen. Like, it will just happen because we decided to stick it out. Like, the decision point to stay together is the repair, or the decision not to leave is the repair, or the decision to try something new. But there are actual steps of repair, making repair. You and I have talked about a ton of these,
Mhm.
having come out of a relationship where there was a bunch of power abuse, a bunch of abuse of power. We had repair to do.
We had lots of repair,
And on
and
a smaller scale, I mean, just this weekend, I had a whole meltdown, and you were there for me, and I felt afterwards that there was, even though I hadn't intentionally harmed you, but you were there holding me up while I was flailing. And so doing some repair and making sure that you felt cared for, so that we weren't so I didn't accidentally walk past you when you might have needed some repair, because I was really distraught.
that's
I might have said stuff that hurt.
right. And so there's another use of proactivity. So you could wait for me to say, there were some things that happened that were hard for me, and I would like to deal with you about that. And then there's you saying, was there something? Have you thought about it? Is it because just like that authenticity, it's giving me a safe place, a welcoming place for whatever my hurt feelings might have been.
Yeah.
And that's I don't think um well, I like it. It feels good to have offered a space to put hurt feelings in the case that they might have come up.
Well, it also allows us to plan for repair, because a lot of times when we don't plan for repair, like it happens, but it happens clunky. It happens through more hurt. So now there may be some resentment that piles up, and then through the resentment there can be these layers of counteraction. Now I'll
Yeah.
poke you. And as we poke each other, we kind of find our way toward repair, or
Or
we could
we
engage
yep.
actively. So the things that come to mind for me when I think about repair processes, active ones that I can put in place, apology and accountability ladders. Do you know the steps of a clear, clean, authentic apology and how to take accountability for actions and words? If you don't, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward process, but most of us weren't taught it, and we've spoken about it here before. The apology and accountability ladder is, I mean, that's the beginning of so much repair. Um,
And again, with the linking of all these skills together requires taking responsibility
right.
for saying just like you, if you were to say to me, so did anything come up for you when I did that? That's you saying, I'm going to take responsibility for my impact on you. And the accountability, apology and accountability ladder, similar. I so I just did something that I see hurt you. I'm going to take responsibility for that. And then there's all the steps of
And
the
and,
ladder. And
and
it's
sometimes this is tender, because someone may come to you, a partner may come to you and say, um, "I'm I'm hurt and I need repair." And the reason this is in hinge skills, to my mind, is because a lot of times that hurt isn't something we wouldn't necessarily have done anything different. I
yes,
see a
right.
lot of people
Mhm.
reach for repair through like, well, if I wouldn't do anything different, then there's nothing I can do. Well, but sometimes we are at a decision point where we're having to make a tough choice, have a hard conversation where we prioritize one relationship over another in a given moment for many different reasons. Lots of times, because we're always all of us are always prioritizing differently. Like, we have multiple responsibilities and all of this, and that means that someone may feel hurt, and we don't have to intend to hurt someone for them to feel hurt. And now, maybe apology isn't the word you would use for that. Maybe you would say, I want to take accountability for the fact that I made a decision that hurt you, and I hear that you're hurt, and maybe you don't feel that that requires an apology. I think that can be okay too. There are moments where what we're apologizing for is, "I'm sorry, I know this is hard. I know it's hard, and we're all in this together." And but then still taking accountability for the fact that I made a hard decision that you didn't like, and owning the fact that, yep, and you didn't like that decision, and I'm here to sit with you in that discomfort, but I'm not gonna try to fix it. So that's different from the apology and accountability ladder, but it can use a lot of the same
Yeah, right.
moves where, like, we can move through, if not say so in an apology and accountability ladder, we're saying, "I'm sorry." We're talking about the how a recognition
Our
of
recognition and
what.
understanding of the other
Yeah,
person's experience. And
exactly. And then what we're gonna do to make it not happen again. If the decision point that made everything uncomfortable is something that you would in fact do again and may in fact happen, then perhaps what you're doing is a different kind of accountability where we're saying, yeah, I know that being in multiple relationships, sometimes this doesn't feel great. How could I support you in having a better experience of this next
right.
time?
Yeah, there
Right?
you
Like,
go. That's
so
nice. I
it's
like
a
that.
tweak on it, but, there are other active repair processes like the Imago dialogue. So that's in episode 129. Nonviolent communication can itself be a
Yep.
form of repair if we can make ourselves available to really be in that communication process. And then you and I get really practical about repair and ask each other, what what would feel good? What would help you feel like we had repaired
Yeah,
this? And sometimes it's taking the time. Can we take some time to go on a walk? Can we take some time to do some breathing together, some nervous system regulation? And that the act of you showing up to that
in the
nervous system
yep.
regulation is
And from the point of view that I know that something I did affected you,
yeah,
and now you need to recover and repair from it.
right.
And just being there
Going for a
and
walk.
acknowledging that is valuable all by itself.
Right. And this is repair. So I think this is repair in the broadest sense of the word, and asking the person that you're relating to how they would like to have repair happen matters. Because if we
Yeah.
don't ask that, what exactly are we doing? I, you know,
Yeah. Who are we doing it for?
who are we doing it
Yeah.
for?
And repair, I just want to throw in that repair doesn't mean putting things back the way they were,
No.
right? I mean,
Often it means the opposite of that.
all right. It is you're repairing it, not restoring it to the way it was.
Right. And it's worth acknowledging too that in a lot of our relational conflicts, the rupture happened, the upset happened because something needed to change.
Right. It was an expression of the
It was
need
an
for
expression of
change.
the need for
And if you
change.
try to put it back the way it was, well, if you succeed, you're just going to hit the rupture again.
Right. And so if we try to put it back the way it was, it's it's antithetical to the point. But if we move forward with repair, it's possible that we can integrate that change in a new way.
Yeah.
I One of the places I see people really needing to do quite a lot of repair is around what happens with the next hinge skill. That's transition management.
Yeah.
A lot of rupture, a lot of hurt comes from mismanaged transitions, poorly managed transitions. And
A lot of the rupture that I have caused around transitions has been as a result of just expecting my partner to understand, to like, oh, we know what we're doing. It's fine. I know. Yeah, they'll understand. And then doing a thing, switching context, switching focus, whatever, to something else, and then coming back like da 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 da. Yep, hey, yeah, that was there. The opposite of that is being aware of the fact that a transition is happening,
right.
being conscious of it, being intentional about managing it, and realizing how important transitions are in human experience. So important.
I think that let's just slow down a little bit with transitions. Transition, again, using this in a really broad sense, changing context in any way
Right.
creates an opportunity for humans to experience this thing called transition,
So
change.
what are some examples of
So,
some
I mean,
transitions?
leaving the house to go on a date, returning from a date, entering into a new relational dynamic, changing the structure of your relationship, renegotiating an agreement, changing the position in the house that you hold, like the roles that you
Yep.
hold in the house. And then there are tiny transitions too, all the micro transitions we make throughout the day. We leave for work, we come home from work. We
Right. Yeah. The
we
little
shift.
ones.
Yeah,
And the things that don't appear to have anything directly to do with the relationship, like getting a new job, losing a job.
right. Anything that causes change
Yep.
in your life will create a transition point. And so let's take as an example a thing I just see come up all the time, which is if I if I'm going out to spend time with another partner, right? So let's say I'm a hinge and I go out to spend time with another partner and I come home. Whatever I'm coming home with, that's going to enter into what I think of as the transitional space. So now I'm coming home and I am bringing with me whatever my experience was, including any upsets or total joy or whatever it is I had, and including any grief I have over the fact that I am now home. I'm back here, and now I'm not with that person,
Yep.
and I might be sad about that.
Yeah.
Or any confusion I have about trying to hold the tension of having multiple relationships and maybe not having totally made that okay in my psyche yet. Because there's a lot to do to unpack there. All of these moments all then converge on a very short span of time that I might call coming home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
So I happen to live here with you. So if I come home from another partner and I enter into our space, my management of that transition, and yours too, is going to have a huge impact on what plays out now for the next hours or even days.
Yes. Yeah. It can have a real strong impact.
And a lot of times what's happening is all unspoken. A lot of times we struggle to know what we should communicate about, how much detail, how much transparency, how much privacy, navigating all of these differing needs that different partners might have for transparency, for privacy, for communication gaps or not having communication gaps, all managing all of that. It, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it takes some
It's,
energy and some
yeah.
effort. And that's okay, but I think trying to pretend that it doesn't have an impact on us is what causes the problem.
And
Trying to
yeah,
pretend like that won't
pretend
then
like it won't happen. And um, a trap I've fallen into is pretending like it'll just work because our relationship is good. The transition, those things, yeah, well, I know they're going to come up, but it's going to be fine because our communication is good, and I'm not going to need to do anything special to make sure that the return in this particular case is smooth. We got it.
or we're good poly people. We're good at being
We're good.
polyamorous,
Yeah,
so we don't need to do
we're
that.
good at that. It's fine.
Um, or or any other thing that
Yeah.
you substitute for just actually making some plans around transition. So
Planned,
transition
intentional.
management is key and it's so helpful. So making it clear what you need and want for pre-care, for aftercare, making it clear how you want to handle your partings and your re-entries into space with each other. And that isn't just about coming and going from home. That's also about connecting with any other people. How do you want to come together? How do you want to part? What sort of connections, what words do you want to hear, what actions do you want to take, what would help you feel supported as we part
Yeah.
space, what would help you feel a nice smooth entry, because it doesn't always go smoothly.
Right. And this
If I come home
applies.
upset, what's
Yeah.
our backup plan? What if I'm dysregulated and you've been just trying to chill out and stay regulated yourself? Like what's our plan then? What are we doing?
Yep.
Making plans for this stuff is just practical.
It is.
And I don't know why, but humans we will do anything. We will expend enormous amounts of energy for years on end to just not have to make a damn plan.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when I
That
say
is.
plan, I want to be real clear. I mean like a plan that fits on a post-it note.
Yeah.
I,
Just
I
a
don't I
short
mean
little.
a very concise, here's how we leave each other's company before a date. Here's how we when I meet up, I have a partner I meet at hotels most frequently. When I meet him, there's a way that we come together. Like we have a pattern and it works for us. And I don't need to necessarily have that same pattern with someone else. That pattern works for us. And having that plan lets me enter his space without feeling jarred.
Yeah.
I need to be able to come together without having a ton of words right away because I feel very overwhelmed and dysregulated, which is weird because I talk all the time. But when I communicate that and say, "Oh, I need like 5 minutes for us to just come together. Can we just lay down? No words. Let's just like sync up with each other." Okay,
Simple
great.
plan. Short
That
little
simple.
something.
Because he thought something was wrong. Nothing's wrong because God, yeah, I talk all the time. It's true. But not then.
And setting up ahead of time what might appear to be a deviation from your regulated behavior. Yeah, I mean, without
Is
that
dysregulated
information, it will
behavior?
look like something's wrong.
Right.
And with the knowledge that, oh, okay, this is how it's going to go, this is expected.
Yeah.
Very different experience for everybody.
So making transition management part of your expectations, I think is a huge benefit for anyone who's going to stand in the hinge position. Because remember, if you're the hinge, you are by nature going to be dealing with the comings and goings of people and their energy. And I don't just mean in physical space. I also mean if I'm involved in an in-depth phone conversation with somebody and then I walk back out and one kid needs help with his homework and another kid needs this. And I have to manage those transitions all the time. Um, Making some plans to ease that burden is helpful and just generally makes for a smoother experience.
And one of the skills in this is the experience over time of what kind of plans work for me, for you, us, like just understanding what are the elements of a good plan for your particular sets of relationships.
And then as a hinge, it's my responsibility to say, okay, I have this partner
Yep.
who has this set of needs, and I have this partner who has this set of needs. And oh, right, I have me who has this other set of needs. Okay, how am I going to weave these together? Maybe instead of a hinge, I'm more of a tapestry weaver at this point.
Yeah.
And we had the metaphor of the composer was offered by a member of
So good.
Year of
Yeah.
Opening. Yeah. Maybe I'm composing this scene. How am I going to bring all of these various pieces into a chord and harmony? Okay, but we can't leave this topic of hinge skills without dealing with NRE and ERE. We
Right.
can't,
I
right?
mean, we just have to.
Okay, so if you're going to be in multiple relationships, and one of the things you're going to be doing is potentially building relationships over time, new relationship energy. New relationship energy is going to come up. It's just part of the picture. New relationship energy. It's a term that was coined. Oh my goodness, I've forgotten their name. I will put it in the show notes. It came up in the 80s, this term, new relationship energy. It's different from established relationship energy. And it's intoxicating to a lot of us. And managing new relationship energy is, in my perspective, a burden of being a person in multiple relationships, right? Because just because I am awash in new relationship energy does not mean that I am absolved of everything else in my life.
Oh, it is so tempting, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I'm just this is it. I mean,
It
everyone
physically
can
takes
see,
that.
right, that this is everything there is right
Yes.
now. Yeah, except it isn't.
It
It's
isn't.
not true.
So allowing yourself to recognize that new relationship energy is blissful and delicious, and you absolutely get to enjoy the hell out of it. And at the same time, you need to balance that with the rest of the complexity of your life. And sometimes that is part of that is having some agreements about, oh, I'm in new relationship energy. Um, can you hold down more of the fort? Like, can I negotiate with
Yep.
you? So I happen
Yeah.
to be in an established relationship with you. Can I negotiate with you? Oh my gosh, the summer of 2021, I had like 4 relationships all start at
Wow.
one time.
Yeah, you did. You had a lot going
That is a
on.
little something.
Yep.
And one of them was particularly like we were texting all the time. It was really, really yummy for me. I was like really, really into this person. And um she was very available, but I had to go to her. She wasn't available to come to me.
Right.
So I was gone a lot more all of a sudden. And
Yep.
it was it was our very first endeavor outside of the bubble post intensity of COVID. And um I remember being about a month into it and realizing, oh, I forgot that I have to manage this better. Because we'd taken a break during COVID. We weren't seeing anyone. So
Right.
we'd had this break of like functional
Mm.
monogamy ish. Not feelings wise, but functionally wise. And I forgot, like, oh, I got to negotiate with you
Yeah,
over this
kind of
stuff.
we got out of the habit and just kind of coasted for a
Right.
while. And
And your desire to be of service all the
kind
time
it got in the way because I didn't ask for
or call me out
I didn't
or
call you
just
out. I
flat
didn't
out
ask.
call
I
me
didn't
out and
say,
say,
hey, so
that's not great.
yep.
And I'm talking about practical stuff here. So NRE management, absolutely. There's a great checklist by Dr. Sophie Graham. It goes through like, here are the signs to look for to see if NRE is getting out of hand and potentially leading you to
Yeah.
neglect
Right.
the fact that you have a whole life. You can Google it. We can pop the list into the show notes, but NRE management is also about recognizing that these are phases in your relationship, and NRE management can actually become part of ERE nurturance. if while I'm feeling NRE, I go to you and I say, I feel it. I feel the thing. I feel the drop. I feel the falling, and I
Yeah.
feel how this could impact us. Now I have the opportunity to actively engage with you, to take responsibility for how that might play out, and to take responsibility for setting my boundaries, to communicate with you what I want, what I need. And that might be, I might want things that are unreasonable. And I get to
You
ask
get
for
to
things
ask.
that are
You get to ask for
unreasonable.
anything you want. Yep.
And then you get to set your
And
boundaries,
I
and
get
then
to
we
set
get to
my boundaries.
negotiate in the middle.
So say more about ERE.
Okay, so established relationship energy, which I'm a big fan of, I happen to love. That's the energy where of any relationship where we have come to count on a level of security and a level of understanding how things work. There's a relaxation that comes with the ERE.
Yeah, a kind of confidence that you mentioned security. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is yeah. Well, and
Which doesn't
it
mean a
has its
promise. It
no.
doesn't mean forever. It certainly doesn't for us, but it does. There is a relaxation of the nervous system.
Mhm.
Like, oh, we've had conversations where we're negotiating this life together, whether that's right up close or from far away, but together. We
Yep.
have there's some sort of commitment.
And there's like I know what to expect in in different situations, and so nurturing that
Yeah,
because
intentionally nurturing it
knowing what to expect, well, first of all, can go wrong, right? I can think I know what to expect and then be surprised
all
uh,
the time.
all
All
the time.
right.
Um, and so, what does it take to nurture
Well,
this?
I mean, nurturing it ERE is so important for all. I mean, nurturing ERE is just nurturing healthy relating, right? Like
Yeah, I heard you
asking for what
listing the
we
things that.
want,
Yep, that's what we do.
active listening, gratitude, showing gratitude
Gratitude so
for
important.
each other, and for all the ways that we show up in each other's lives. Um, just being present, like nurturing some time to be present
Hmm.
together, allowing for change, embracing and enjoying change over time. Like,
Yeah,
oh, I am changing, you are changing, and look at us here doing these things together, making time to spend together in ways that feel right for the changing versions of you.
yeah.
Embracing the fact that we're going to go through phases where, especially if you're in an individuation oriented relationship, you will go through these phases where you feel closer together and further apart. And sometimes those feel kind of asynchronous. We're growing together and apart at a time
Right.
that doesn't even feel really on pace. And being able to have a meta conversation about that being part of your relationship. That's part of our relationship. The idea that we don't have to be on beat.
Yep.
It's okay for us to be syncopated, and it's uncomfortable, but that's part of what we count on is, oh,
It's
stuff's gonna change.
it's particularly uncomfortable this getting out of sync if you think it's never supposed to happen. It
Right.
gets really uncomfortable. It's like, oh no, what's wrong? Nothing has it doesn't need for something to be wrong for you to be growing in a way that I haven't caught up with yet. Not that I necessarily need to grow in the same way, but I need to understand that you have grown this way and interact with you accordingly,
Yeah, as I actually am,
as you actually are,
and
not
as
as I
you actually
remembered you
are.
to be, and as I actually am, as
Yeah.
I have grown, whether I noticed or not, because sometimes I grow and don't notice. And I'm like, oh, that's a thing I don't do anymore, or I do that all the time now. Whoa.
So again, about we were talking about this in the first Hinge Skills episode about coming back to the present moment. So in an
Right.
established relationship where there is longevity, especially sometimes I'm working with couples who've been together 2, 3, 4 decades, and they have such immense capacity to see the big picture, but sometimes they forget to be in the present moment. Like, yep, you have immense capacity to stick it out for the long haul and to be present to each other as life partners. And are you paying attention to the fact that your partner's showing up today? Are
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
present to what is right now? And it's a huge gift, but it's also a way to manage the fact that um, sometimes we don't like each other
Yeah.
in relationship,
Yeah.
and that doesn't have to go badly. Because if we can treat each other with kindness and respect, we can have periods where we don't like each other and then come back into liking. I think that the interplay between NRE management and ERE management is particularly notable to me these days because I have a lot of people in the year of opening have been together for a substantial amount of time, whether that's a few years or a few decades. It's substantial to you. And if you're in this situation where you've built a life that you really, really love and you don't want to damage it, then putting in place plans for dealing with new relationship energy without discounting the fact that these new relationships are new relationships with new people who you do not know yet, which means you can't predict everything and you can't predict how you're going to feel and how changed you will be by the fact that you have these new relationships. I mean, that is some high level plan right there, just to
It is.
allow yourself to
Yeah.
be present to the fact that you are walking out into the unknown with each other and saying, "Let's go. Let's do this." Um,
Yeah. So
I think of it as, I mean, this is why I really like when people get into the year of opening as they're just opening up or just considering it, because I'm like, "Oh, cool. Let's outfit you with parachutes before
before
you
you
jump
jump.
out of the plane." Now, if you've jumped out of the plane, I get it. Lots and lots and lots of people find my work after they've jumped. That's okay. I will literally jump out of the plane and strap parachutes onto people. I do it every day. But if you're at that spot where you're questioning and you're curious and you're not sure exactly what to do, or you've taken some steps and then kind of run back to monogamy because you get freaked out, yeah, you probably just don't know the actual skills yet, or you're overwhelmed by all the unknown.
Yeah.
And getting comfortable with the unknown and the unknowable has been the best skill set I could possibly imagine. Being comfortable with, I mean, that is actually the exact skill set that got me in relationship with you, um, into grad school, well, into all of my psychology every single one of them was born of getting comfortable with the unknown and the unknowable, and being present to the fact that I don't have to know how it works out. I only have to know how to handle this moment right now.
And that's
And
yeah.
having
So
CrossFit flashbacks,
right.
pick up the bar, just
Yeah.
pick
Pick
up
up
the
the bar.
bar.
And so once again, I hear the NRE ERE overlap there. So the ERE nurturing will keep you in a place, the bunch of you, to tolerate the unknown that
Yeah.
comes with NRE, because that's a big important part of NRE. There's a whole lot of unknown. There's a
I mean,
bunch of stuff
that's
you
why
don't
it's
know yet. It's
exciting.
why it's exciting. And yeah, it all ties together. And then taking responsibility for the making the plans and following the plans that you've made, which yeah, that's important. Making the plans isn't enough.
Yeah, we could also harken back if you're doing NRE management, your time management is going to matter a lot.
Oh yeah.
And being able to hold yourself in integrity with that,
Yeah.
because so frequently we are thrust into an adolescent, awash in
Yeah.
adolescent feeling
Yeah.
neurochemicals, and we forget how to manage ourselves. Well, we got to remember, we got to use tools. I mean, I am a big fan of saying, like, use your calendar. Use your calendar,
Yeah.
use your timers. The number of people who struggle with their managing their NRE and managing, like, coming home from dates on time and keeping their word and making their plans and showing up for their dates and nurturing their ERE through making committed time to spend with their partners, who don't set calendar dates or
Yeah.
timers.
Yeah.
Which was absolutely, I mean, when you and I were first together, that was one of the biggest hindrances.
I
I
was
was
always
holding all of that, and
insulted when time reared its head and said, "You said you'd do this by this time." Nope.
so you just didn't let
So,
time speak to you.
no,
Do you understand that it does not give a
it
fuck what
doesn't
you
care
think?
whether I'm talking to it or not. Still happening. Yeah.
Right.
And but it's a struggle that I had, and it is a struggle. So if you struggle with it, use the tools.
Right, and
Use the
when I
tools that
use those
exist.
tools, I feel calmed. They
Mhm.
they soothe me. If the tools themselves, if using your calendar, if that triggers commitment fear, if that triggers feelings of being controlled, then you have other layers of work to do.
Right.
Like, if using a calendar or using a timer brings up feelings of being controlled, That's the work to take up with your personal therapy right there. Like that's huge. And that's gonna change so many places in
Yeah,
your
across the
life.
board.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you've experienced that for sure.
Yeah.
And there are a million different ways we could get into that. I love hinge skills. You know why?
Why?
When people do them well, when people grasp that these are the specific relational practices that they need to get better at in order to have their relationships actively get better. It's just that simple. Like this is a one-to-one. Like I put in this energy to learn these skills and then practice them and things get better.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
love.
not always guaranteed, but in this case,
Yeah.
I see it. I every single day I see it where people make improvements in these skills. Their
Yeah.
relational lives get better. Yay. And
So,
we talk about them all the time in the year of opening. There's
yeah,
a new
so
cohort enrolling January 24th of 2024. I don't know how close that is right this moment because I don't know when this episode is airing. But if you are looking to be a part of the year of opening, the cohorts are extremely limited and they all fill. So you need to get in touch with us right away. Go to openeasier.com to join us at one of the free salons that I offer, or you can email admin@jolihamilton.com and find out if there's a seat available for you right now.
and there's so much to learn about these skills. As Jolie said, these skills are learnable, and you practice them, you get better at them, other things get better too. It's such a direct connection, and doing it in a group of other people doing the same things,
Mhm.
so supportive to be like, I'm going to work on this relationship stuff. And if you're all alone, it's like, I feel like I don't know, wasting my time.
Or
Am I
am I doing
crazy?
it? Am I
Yeah,
doing the
what am I
thing? Am I
doing?
not?
Doing it with other people and having the feedback is
It's also nice to see
so
other people
supportive.
making mistakes and learn from
Yeah.
those. You don't have to
Oh
make
yeah.
any mistakes yourself.
Mhm.
You can watch what other people are going through,
I
put
mean,
yourself
I'll be
in
there.
their
You
shoes.
can, listen to all mine.
Okay, but you aren't the only person making mistakes. I make mistakes too.
And you can listen
I
to
want
Jolie's
my
mistakes.
share.
Yep. No, no.
Okay. I love this Hinge Skills episode. If you have questions about Hinge Skills, if you have a specific scenario that you have found yourself in and you would like some feedback about what you might do to improve, to change how this pattern is playing out for
And
you,
that's not like out of the realm of possibility.
I encourage you to email your question to admin@jolihamilton.com and we'll do a follow-up episode Q&A on this
I
episode.
love that.
There's no one right way to design your relationship. And lots of people, actually about 25%, according to a recent national survey, are interested in some type of open relationship. But how do you know if you are ready to open up happily? Not everyone is, and that's no problem. I've got a 60-second quiz that will give you the answer. And even better, you'll walk away with your next step, whether you're good to go or not so much when it comes to opening up. And this is no BuzzFeed nonsense. I personally designed this quiz from my years of academic research. Go to joliquiz.com. That's JOLIQUIZ.com and find out if you're ready to open up happily and what to do if you are or if you're not.